Welcome to Mac Talk, a Middle Tennessee podcast from Mont Haven Arts and Cultural Center in Hendersonville, Tennessee. I'm your announcer, Kennedy Galpin. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at the Samaroo Group, a real estate development company that helps clients find a better way to live.
Thank you, Kennedy, and welcome everyone to Mac Talk. I'm your host, John Pitcher. We like to think of the Mac as a cultural town square where we encourage everyone to be their creative best. We have a lot of young people who've been their creative best that we have on display here at Mont Haven. We have a little student art show that is in our Papillon Gallery right now. Mm-hmm. And I noticed that there were some of the students of some of our teachers like Jessica Lewis. And Jessica is very, very ambitious for her students. She often enters them into various competitions. And I know some of them not too long ago won the Scholastic Art Competition.
Oh, wow, yeah.
They entered into that.
Yeah.
And I think they got to have some of their work shown at Cheekwood. So not just here, but at Cheekwood. And I was doing a little research on that competition, and I came across a photo in the Tennessean.
Did you Nardwar me? You Nardwarred me.
Which
John.
I'm showing you right now.
John Pitcher.
This is a picture of Kennedy Galpin in the Tennessean from 2015. She's a kid. And she won, I will tell you, she got 2 silver keys. She got a silver key for mixed media and a silver key for, I think, sculpture. So, in any case,
a sculpture artist.
So I thought it was interesting because I was just thinking that most of the, and Kennedy's laughing right now, but
this is not what I expected to come into today.
Well, that's because I like to, as a reporter, I like to ambush my subjects.
Oh, yeah, you Nardward me, dude.
But in any case, one of the things I've noticed about a lot of artists, and our announcer, Kennedy Galpin, is an artist. She's a really wonderful graphic artist. She's also really great at drawing and just great at art all around. She has an art background. And I have noticed that so many artists that I know who are professional artists as adults, that usually they start it pretty young. And so I was just interested, Kennedy, how you discovered your love for drawing and your love and your skill at drawing. I mean, because obviously I see from this photo here that even as a teenager,
such a horrible
you
photo
were already really good. So tell me.
So I probably started drawing, if I remember correctly, around 5th grade. I think that's whenever I started taking it seriously. Because about then, I discovered this funny thing called tracing paper.
Okay.
And I would take these books that I loved, and I would find the illustrations that I loved the most in them, and I would use that tracing paper and kind of trace over them. And then I realized, wait, I could probably do this on my own. And I would try to just draw what I saw instead. And about 6th grade, I had a teacher at T.W. Hunter Middle School called Mr. Hale that kind of took interest in me, as he did with a lot of students in art classes that he had. And he put me in something called Arts Council. And he kind of fostered this love for art and drawing in me. And also around that time, around that 5th grade time, I started taking lessons here.
At the Hendersonville Arts Council.
It was the Hendersonville Arts Council at the time, now known as Mont Haven Arts and Cultural Center, this very podcast.
So you have a long history.
I have a long history here.
Going all the way back to childhood.
Mm-hmm. It might have been before 5th grade that I started taking lessons here, but I took lessons here with Sandy Kandros. She, I think, was the only teacher at the time that was teaching here.
Oh my gosh.
And
she was teaching at Hendersonville High School
also
too,
was,
right?
Yes, she was, yes.
Wow.
So,
and she is a great teacher.
She is fantastic. I have a lot of my projects from her still at my parents' house, obviously, because
they date back to then. Yeah.
And they have them like hung up and everything at their house. But around that time of like childhood is whenever I discovered that I really liked doing all this art stuff a lot, any of it, clay. I mean, I won a silver key for sculpture and I'm not a sculpture artist, but I enjoyed doing that. I mean, I just liked doing just about anything I can get my hands on. And really drawing was like the big one, because I realized pretty young, whenever my brother was like, my family would go on these travel trips for hockey, because my brother was playing hockey, and I would have all this spare time in rinks and whatnot, just by myself pretty much, and I would sit there and draw. And I spent so much time just drawing. I mean, because talent in and of itself really isn't something you're innately born with. It's like Bob Ross said, it's a pursued interest.
Okay.
And I had a pursued interest in drawing, and I kind of ran with it.
Yeah, you sure did. Well, you went to college and studied art.
Well, I initially, so growing up around the same time in middle school, I figured out I wanted to be an animator, specifically for Disney. That did not happen, because I went to college for animation, and I found out, actually, all this motion and a 3D program kind of makes me motion sick.
Okay. It's good to discover it now, right?
I thought at the time, whenever I was in middle school, that all of it was still hand-drawn. Because at the time, Disney was still occasionally putting out hand-drawn films.
Yeah.
But then they shifted to 3D animated films, and then everything became 3D by the time I had made it to college. So I kind of shifted to motion graphics and just drawing on my own.
Little commercial for Monhaven here.
Commercial.
I just wanted to say that, speaking of Disney, that we'll have James Coleman, a Disney artist. We'll have his exhibit here at Monhaven starting November 22nd. I just wanted to add that. Just wanted to do my own little commercial, based on
Goodest time of any.
What Kennedy was saying. Well, but you did go to college. You studied art, and you are now a professional artist, and you are really an amazing artist. So I just, one other question. If you were talking to a younger you, if you were talking to a high school kid or someone who's really interested in art, what sort of advice would you give them?
Oh, gosh. I guess keep drawing as much as you can. Because really, the more you do it, the better you get. Really.
Okay. That's kind of like true of everything in a way, isn't
I mean,
it?
it's true. I mean, art really is just practicing until you can't take it anymore.
Right. Okay.
I mean, and if you're trying to draw people, definitely do figure drawing as much as you can. I took an interest in that in high school, and it really helped me out a lot, because the human body is hard to draw.
Yeah.
Very difficult. No. Very difficult.
Wow. Well, speaking of people who have inspired young people, that's our guest today. Greg Wilson is the founding artistic director of Actors Point Theater Company in Hendersonville, Tennessee. Greg started Actors Point 14 years ago. The company stages about 4 or 5 productions a year and offers classes and workshops to aspiring young actors and theater enthusiasts. Recently, Actors Point was named Theater Company in Residence at Volunteer State Community College in Gallatin, Tennessee. We're thrilled that Greg is here to speak with us today about live theater in Middle Tennessee. Greg Wilson, welcome to Mac Talk.
Well, thank you. Thanks for inviting me, and been looking forward to this.
Terrific. Well, let me ask you, we live here in the shadow of Nashville, Tennessee, which is one of the world's great art and music cities. And so I'm just kind of curious, what inspired you to start a theater company in Sumner County? Why not just stay in Nashville, where they've already got all the accoutrements set up for you?
Yeah, well, a couple of things, and on the on the selfish side of things, I just got tired of having to drive downtown to get paid to be an actor.
Okay.
That's number one. But that's my joke answer. But more importantly, it was a real weird thing, because I don't normally do this kind of thing. But 2008 hits, recession, all these things. I'm looking through and going, well, there's cities in America that really aren't participating in the recession. Mm-hmm. Okay. And, so literally did a Google search, right? Top 25 cities that are still maintaining or growing. Okay. And here's what was interesting. Once the statistic just popped out, all of them had professional theater companies.
The ones that were doing well?
The ones that were doing well.
Okay.
And they had some dance, and they had a place like the Mac, and they had, so there was a combination of things, but all of them had a professional company. So I thought, well, what the heck? I'll just take the professionals I'm working with, and I'll just invite them up here, because the people up here are driving down there, and paying $40 for parking, by the way. But why not do the same thing up here? And no space. I had no space, space to perform in. So I mounted shows in churches and on the lake and wherever I could at Vol State, if that was a possibility, and in some of the old movie theaters like the Palace in Gallatin, and hey, rather than me say, well, I'll just wait until something good comes up. I'm like, I'm an artist. I'm going to do this. So let's just do it. No excuses.
Right. Well, I have a couple of comments to what you were just saying. First of all, it's not surprising that cities that had professional theater companies, or for that matter, ballet companies or symphonies or other art museums would be doing well, because those kinds of places tend to be what are known as creative communities.
Yeah.
So they have a lot of really imaginative people, not just artists, but people maybe who are very creative in graphic arts and computer science and programming. It attracts that kind of personality. Yeah. So they do tend to congregate, and the urbanologist Richard Florida actually wrote about that. In fact, he coined a phrase called the Nashville effect about our music industry and how it actually attracts musicians from all over the world and every kind of musician to Nashville.
Yeah.
Secondly, I understand your thing about wanting to have something in Sumner County instead of having to drive to Nashville all the time. I have one son in college right now up in Boston. He's studying piano. But before he went up to college, we had him in the Vanderbilt pre-college, music pre-college. That's awesome. The best place we could actually find the right teachers for him, for a kid who had started so young.
Yeah.
And by the time I had finished with him in high school, and taking him to, competitions in different parts of the state, to, driving him back and forth from Hendersonville to Nashville to his lessons, I took my car in for servicing. And my mechanic just came out and said, "What the hell did you do to your car?" And what the hell I had done to my car was that, well, the kind of music education that he needed, as a kid who had started when he was about 6, wasn't really available in Hendersonville. I had to find a PhD at Vanderbilt to give him what he needed. And there are other great schools too. Lipscomb has a great department, Belmont has, but we had to find some place for him to go. So actually having those kinds of things in Sumner County, I understand as a parent, that's incredibly important.
Yeah. Well, and the economy of it is that part of it is, here's somebody who works downtown, they drive up here, and then they got to turn around and pick up their spouse or whatever and drive all the way back again to go see a show.
Right.
Okay. So there's that. The other thing that's huge, is, 40% of the people that come and see shows that we put on are from outside the county.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So the tourism people must love you.
Tourism, and then there's all the statistics that say when they're going to see a show, people are going to spend this much money outside their ticket price. So from an economic standpoint, that's really good. The other thing is, I just wanted to keep more actors working and myself working. So, what the heck? Let's do a play.
That's interesting. I'm wondering if that's related to my next question. I'm wondering what inspired the name Actors Point? Why not Sumner County Theater Company? Or what is Actors Point? Where did that name come from?
Well, Actors Point Theater Company, at first, the first place we were was right just a couple of 100 yards from here. There was a church on Center Point Road that allowed us to use their spaces all the time. So at first I was thinking Center Point Theater Company.
Oh, Center Point Road.
Center Point Road, Center Point Theater Company. And that
orient people.
Interesting, right? All that. But Past that, when I figured out, you know what, I don't. Thank God for that church that helped us get started. At the same time, do I always have to do it in a church? Can I go to the lake? Can I go here? And then my philosophy, as far as an artist myself, as a director, I think my sensibilities say, and I think most people's sensibilities say, that the actor, the performance is the point. Mm-hmm. The actor is the point. The what the actor does. We can have really great costumes, and I love costumers. I have some really great ones. We can have great set pieces. We can have all these things. But if we have performances that are lackluster and not up to par, people are still going to feel something different, right? So let's make the actor and really call a lot of attention to what that is and the process and people, real life situations, all these things. A few years back we did a show right after the pandemic, and I had this 90-year-old man come up to me, and he was crying after our show, and I said, "Well, thank you. It's nice that you were so touched." He says, "Not touched, nothing. First of all, this was really great. I've seen stuff. I mean, the actors were amazing. It really, really, really impacted me." Mm-hmm. And the fact that I could also hang out with my family and experience that whole thing that happens when you and I either go to the symphony or ballet or a great theatrical production, and you're with people. That's something you remember.
Right.
That's something and so if I don't have actors that know how to pull it off, I've not really served the vision.
Well, and I was just sort of, my interpretation just in hearing the name of the company the first time is that, well, the point is to provide professional opportunities for actors in Sumner County, which might not otherwise be here.
Yeah, exactly. And or find them.
Find them.
Yeah, because part of our mission statement is to discover, develop, and deploy. Mm-hmm. I've got people who have been in my kid programs who are now working professionally in Chicago and New York and L.A. and all over. Right.
So you don't just find them, though. You guys make them.
Yeah, well,
kind of. And I've often heard that your company, Actors Point, is in some ways is like two companies, right? You have a professional company, you have professional actors who do professional theater productions, mm-hmm. but you also have a lot of classes and workshops. Tell me a little bit about that sort of binary role.
Well, that whole thing came from, again, who and where am I, mm-hmm. right? Sumner County, and again, it sounds like a joke, but it's really not. But when you think about it, demographically, Sumner County is on average a 35-year-old with 2 kids in a van. Mm-hmm. Okay, we know how robust and strong all of the sporting opportunities are in our mm-hmm. county. We know, we see all that stuff. Well, if that's the case, I also know there's a few nerds like me that want to do theater,
right.
hanging out. We got to provide them that opportunity, right. and provide them the chance to go, oh, okay, and to be exposed to the professionals we bring in as far as what the level could look like if they just did their work. Mm-hmm. Did their work.
We're speaking with Actors Point Theater Company founder Greg Wilson. We'll be back after this important message.
The Samaru Group is a strong supporter of arts education. That's because the arts foster creativity and critical thinking. They also enhance communication skills while boosting confidence and collaboration. Students engaged in the arts often perform better academically and develop lifelong appreciation for diverse perspectives. This message was brought to you by the Samaru Group, a family-owned real estate business specializing in affordable housing, green design, and new urbanism. For more information, visit their website at samarugroup.com.
We're back with Actors Point Theater Company founder Greg Wilson, who's talking about his efforts to bring professional theater to Sumner County. Well, you sort of enunciated the rationale that our executive director, Cheryl Stritchick, mentions for Monhaven all the time, which says that, the best communities are what she describes as well-rounded communities. So, Hendersonville is famous for its lake and its parks, and it's got, a sports team in every single, vacant place that you can fit a sports team. But what do the kids who want to paint do, or that want to do music or want to do acting?
Yeah.
So it's having that kind of opportunity for them as well.
Yeah. And then there's also the heritage of Sumner County. I mean, my goodness, talking about the music biz.
Right.
I mean, OMG, right?
Yeah.
What a heritage, what an example, what a thing, So, and I always tell this, and we got a lake. I can do Shakespeare on the lake, which we've done. So I mean, there's just some really cool stuff that happens because Sumner County.
Right, and obviously, Hendersonville specifically being a place that was home to Johnny Cash, to Roy Orbison, to Barbara Mandrell, the Oak Ridge Boys. It's sort of a who's who.
You see Ricky Skaggs over at Starbucks all the time.
Right. Yeah.
Or
Marty Stewart.
Marty Stewart.
You can shows up at Publix, so you've been standing in line behind Marty Stewart.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, the big news about Actors Point is that you guys are now the theater company in residence at Vol State Community College. Tell me a little bit about that. Tell me, how did that relationship come about?
Well, back before the pandemic, Dr. Jerry Faulkner and I, we're actually going to Rotary Club
Yeah, he was the former president.
He's the former president of Vol State, yes. And I said, hey, Doc, I know that you've got a theater department going there, but they're not using all the spaces all the time. Can we just talk about it? He said, yeah, let's talk about it. And then he said, you know what? You just need to come and do some shows here. So we did that, and then pandemic, right? And then, things went, and then another president came, and then was gone tragically, right? And then this new president has come in, and their humanities department has just really gotten a very robust thing going on here. And part of that is they've already got some great examples of what experience-based learning could look like, i.e., their recording studio is state-of-the-art, off-the-charts, unbelievable. What's almost more unbelievable is that Steve Beischer, a good friend, who's teaching recording engineering there, only has 5 Grammys.
Right.
Only 5, right? Amy Grant, Jars of Clay, all that stuff. So they've got this model there that says, hey, not only can your kid come to college and learn a little bit about recording, they can learn a lot about recording.
Oh, yeah,
There's a pro that's running the show here.
Right.
And that still does stuff for Netflix and this and that and the other. So part of that is then, okay, well, that's a good model. Why not bring in other professionals to expose them or let the kids have exposure, or the students, it's not always kids, students have exposure to what a professional experience could look like. So we're there and we're like, okay, come and audition, come and work backstage. We just did a show and Dr. Thomas, Edmund Thomas, who's the theater guy there, said, hey, I've got this guy who just really wants to learn more about tech things, so on and so forth. Can he help you with this next show that you're bringing? Now the guy is just like all in and ready to go, and he's found his tribe, and all those things. And so, that's what we're looking for is, and that's what they're looking for, is this experience-based learning situation where they go, this is how professionals think. This is what professionals do. This is how they do their homework. All the things, if you were a great artist, a great draftsman, whatever it was, there's disciplines. as you well know.
Right.
And so,
Well, I'm also aware of the facility there. My wife's one of the English professors, so she works in that humanities building. It's
Yes.
a great building.
Unbelievable.
So I would imagine that just having that kind of access to those sort of facilities must help the students learn immensely and help the actors do a better job.
oh yeah. Well, I mean, again, they're in that, but the Steinhauer Rogan Black Building is what it's called. And in that building is a black box space, and it's so state of the art, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's not just, they didn't just go, hey, let's put a room here and you can do some classes here. No.
Right.
Technically, all the things. Oh my gosh. And, kudos to Vol State for thinking in those terms.
Right. And of course, theater, as you are intimating, has so many layers. I mean, it's, artists who are designers, costume designers, or fashion designers, or artists who are interested in stage work, or carpentry, or lighting, or sound,
Or
there's something
social media.
Yeah, there's a little bit of everything there.
Yeah. Or website design. Or, hey, design my poster. Here's a chance for you to design the poster. And guess what? If we choose your poster, we'll pay you a little bit.
Oh, that's
And
very cool.
And you as a student will not only graduate with your degree and your diploma, but you'll also graduate with actual resume experience on a resume through
Resume
a
and
professional
portfolio,
company.
yeah, for people who can do posters here in Nashville. That's a huge tradition.
Resume experience as an actor, and you haven't even gotten out of college.
Right. That is really well. What performances? I think I saw. Did you do Pride and Prejudice? What performances have you been doing there at Vol State?
We just did Pride and Prejudice this summer for our summer camp. We had almost 50 kids in our. We do two camps. We do a middle school, high school camp, and then we do 5-year-olds through 5th graders. And so I've learned to split those two up. We used to do them all together. That was a little crazy. But we did Seussical the Musical, okay? Dr. Seuss story. And that went out real well. And that was in the Weems Auditorium, which is part of the Caudle Hall situation. It's a larger venue. And then we decided to bring our professional production of Pride and Prejudice there. And we also extended the run and brought a second weekend up to White House High School. White House High School has lost their theater teacher.
Okay.
And so a friend of mine who teaches at actually White House Heritage, he's come and is doing an after school program with all the theater kids that were left over with no teacher. So I said, you know what? Well, let's bring a show up. Let's bring the show up there and kind of do a spotlight on what's happening here and raise some money for these kids because there's no budget. Let's bring a show up there and show our support. And if any of the kids want to work on the show, that's awesome. So we just did that, and that finished a couple weekends ago.
Okay.
And now we're heading into Christmas, and of course, I like doing things that can move around. So we're going to do a Christmas Carol.
You're going to do it at Vol State?
At Vol State. We're going to do a Christmas Carol, a live radio play. So it's 5 actors doing all the roles like an old 1940s radio show.
Oh, wow.
And you get to see
So that's a little different.
Yeah, so it's a little bit different. It's fun to watch.
Yeah.
Because, you get to see people play multiple characters and see that, the old sound effects tables, we'll have that. So we're going to do that there. We're also probably going to do another weekend of it, maybe even at the tourism building.
Okay.
Just to, because Vol State could give me one weekend because, obviously right near Christmas time you have graduations and you have all those other things. So they were able to give me a weekend there. And so that's what's next. And then we're looking for possibility of Fiddler on the Roof at the end of January, February. And then we're looking at a possible collaboration of doing another musical alongside the college so that it's a co-produced kind of situation.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a couple of musicals that we're tossing around for that.
All right. Well, you obviously have a penchant for some of the classics, right?
Yes.
The big standards, and I guess those are good training pieces for
Well, I think so.
young actors, especially.
I'm glad you asked this question, because this is people always say, man, you don't do any of the edgy stuff, and my response is, without Rodgers and Hammerstein, you don't get to Hamilton.
Sure.
You have to have some kind of, without the great artist, a Picasso, or you don't. He set a bar, or what do I want to say, a foundation by which.
Sure.
So I'm all about, especially with the younger ones, let's do foundational pieces.
Yeah.
So, and because the writing is so amazing, it's, we're talking about Fiddler on the Roof. I always tell people, you don't have to do anything to it to make it more interesting. Mm-hmm. It's written so well that all you have to do is say the lines and sing the songs, and it delivers.
Yeah.
Because classics.
Right. And that's just important for the background and culture and technique of the actor. I used to actually be a newspaper classical music critic. I'd do overnight reviews. And one of the things you learn from that is that, everything you need to know about a pianist, that was my background, was pianist, you can learn from just hearing them play one Mozart sonata and one Chopin etude.
Really?
And, that's the found. If you can do that really well, then you can probably do anything else really well.
You can
if you can't do that, then you probably need to go back and do some work.
Yeah.
And I just kind of have the same sense that, we could probably say that about, Gershwin or Rodgers and Hammerstein or Stephen Sondheim, for that matter. Just can you work on that level? Can you capture that?
And is it a surprise that Stephen Sondheim, when he was a boy, lived 2 blocks down the street from Oscar Hammerstein?
Oh yeah, it was his mentor, right? Yeah, it was very helpful.
Son of a gun!
Yeah,
surprise!
No. And of course, Hammerstein, understanding serious music, understood that Sondheim needs to go work with Leonard Bernstein, on something, and that you can learn how to do it from working with people like that.
Yeah, Uncle Oscar's house.
Yeah,
I'm going to Uncle
level.
Oscar's house.
Yeah,
so really fun.
We're speaking with Actors Point Theater Company founder Greg Wilson. We'll be back after this important message.
The Samaroo Group reminds us that the arts help build well-rounded communities. They bring people together through shared experiences and support for local identity. Art programs promote education, economic growth, and emotional well-being. Interested in expanding your own creative horizons? Check out the MAC's website at monthavenarts.org.
We're back with Actors Point Theater Company founder Greg Wilson, who's talking about his efforts to bring professional theater to Sumner County. Well, Greg, let me ask you, what inspired you to go into acting?
Because
you've been doing it for what, 40 plus 50 years or something?
50,
so what inspired you to become an actor?
Well, the high school play was going on, and my older brother, a year older than me, said, "Hey, we need some more guys for a fight scene, and you're going to be in this play." We need dead bodies. So I literally tried it, and I thought, man, this is fun, and it's something I could do. I mean, I was wrestling, and I was doing sports things and stuff like that, played baseball, all this stuff, but this thing just resonated. And something I could do with, it was about the reaction from people I respected that said, "Hey, you got some juice, you need to be thinking about this." And so and that was in my sophomore year. And as we went through, I said, you know what, I'm just going to give this thing a try. And I went to the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. Mm-hmm. We were up in Milwaukee. And the timing was only amazing because they had just, that year, the year I started, had just started a professional theater training program there. Mm-hmm. which is now in Delaware, but it started there, and they had brought teachers in from ACT and NYU and Carnegie Mellon to start this program. So I got the master's degree training for the bachelor's degree prize. Wow. Right? And with these people who were world renowned. I mean, my fight director, my stage fight director, teacher was a guy. They brought him in for 6 months. His name was B.H. Barry. He had did the fight choreography for all of the Three Musketeers movies.
Oh, wow.
And he was the fight director for the Royal Shakespeare Company. So I just flipped a coin and got lucky.
Yeah.
Because again, back to exposing yourself to high-end professionals early on in my career. So did that, started working, got married, had kids, but always never stopped working.
Well, as an actor, what was your favorite role as an actor?
I love Tevye. I've played him 6 times. Okay. I might play him again one more time. But I love that role. That's really been the only lead I've really done. Everything else, just because of my build and who I am and personality-wise, I was never going to be the guy to be the leading man to kiss the girl at the end of the show, right? I was going to be his funny sidekick.
Okay.
So I've played.
Those are sometimes more fun roles, though.
Well,
right?
you get more work.
Yeah.
You get more work because there's only so many leading men roles. So
other than Fiddler on the Roof, what else do you?
Oh man,
really...
I love. I love My Fair Lady. I think that, again, back to something that was written pretty much perfectly. I just can't not love that. And I've played the father in that, and I've played just sometimes I'll jump on stage even if I'm directing and just do like a chorus role or something like that, just because I love it. So yeah, there's.
Well, what? Because you just mentioned directing, because you've done directing as well. What's your? Do you prefer directing to acting, or what are your thoughts there? And what's the what direction are you most proud of that you had done?
Well, I like both a lot, and I'm up for doing both. Literally, this production of Pride and Prejudice, where we had standing ovations every time. That's a real payoff. So directorially, just and that was just being able to cast, the right people.
Yeah, not everybody can do both.
Yeah,
I mean,
casting is a big deal, or at least, and part of it's the acting teacher in me. For whatever reason, God's given me a gift to get performances out of people that maybe you wouldn't get performances out of. I just know how to pull things out of people. And like I say, discovering actors, I had a couple of high school girls who'd never done a show before, and people thought, oh my gosh, who are these kids? Right. And it's just because we were able to direct them, and so that's really gratifying. The other most gratifying moment, I think, is when we did Steel Magnolias.
Okay.
And at the end of every show, I'm standing around and people come up and congratulations, and there's smiles and there's all these things. Well, at the end of Steel Magnolias, it's a very, very sad time. Shelby has died, and they're in the beauty shop, and they're all talking. And at the end of that one, grown men would walk past me and go, "We'll talk later, okay? Yeah, really nice." And I thought, when? Because it touched him where it needed to touch him.
Wow. Okay.
So that was. I'm gonna cry right now.
Well, and it does take certain kinds of organizational skills to be a director as well. I mean, and that's not something every actor has. But to sort of transition from that, not every actor, not every director can also be an artistic director or an arts administrator, and you found yourself in that role as well. Tell me a little bit about making that transition. How have you found that? Because obviously it must have worked out. You've been doing this for quite a while.
Well, it's worked out, and it hasn't worked out because I know I could be better at it. That's been out of necessity, but also, and I don't know why, but I have an eye for looking at the marketplace as well. And I say the marketplace, but the opportunities as well. And so consequently, I think in terms of how can I come alongside other people who are trying to get their thing done, and maybe there's collaboration involved. So I always, from an administrative point of view, I always thought, as far as collaboration, the fact that we're collaborating with Vol State. What kind of, in years past, before pandemic, I actually taught some acting classes here before I got to know you. Okay, so there's and would do it again, because I'm always looking for ways to, hey, let's get all boats to rise.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, as a young arts critic, newspaper critic in New York, I had met and become friends with the great choreographer Garth Fagan. He's the choreographer who did The Lion King, but I mean, among other things, he was also one of the great contemporary choreographers. But he used to always complain that he could just never quite get the business side of his company to equal the artistic side. Not that any business side is going to equal the artistic side of Garth Fagan, but it was hard. Still, that's always been the challenge, because as an artistic director, Garth was a supreme artist and choreographer. But as an artistic director, you end up having to be a fundraiser. Right. And do all that kind of stuff too. And getting that side of your company to be on the same level, it requires a different set of skills, among other things.
Well, and we've just gone through I think an upgrade to my board. Part of the challenge is in theater, and I with musicians, they might have the same challenges. Sometimes you get unbelievably just good-hearted people that want to, hey, we'll help, we'll do anything. But then you have to now say, okay, let me teach you what theater looks like, and what all that looks like. And so it takes up a lot of time to have to teach and reteach, as opposed to, well, you know what, I'll just do that myself, kind of thing. So I have learned over the years I'm now starting to gather groups of people that are good at their thing, and just let me be good at my thing. And so I feel like in the next year or two, we're going to actually raise the bar on the especially the fundraising side. I'm simple-hearted and I'm servant-hearted. So I'm like, if I ask you for money, I'm bugging you. And the answer is no. People really want to help.
Well, do you have a pitch to donors?
Yeah, I do. And when I sit down with the donor, I don't have a problem. But it's getting, now that I believe that now that I've got the board that we've literally just put in, that I'll have more chances to be in front of donors, because I'm a good pitch man for sure. In fact, I teach. One of the things I do on the side is I teach business people how to get their pitch right.
Well, and I was just thinking about that. It's like, you don't have to study acting, or you can go to acting and as a young person and just have a lot of fun. But you also come away with skills that might make you really good at your job one day, because you have to get up and, in a market economy, you have to get up and sell things to people.
Well, I don't have to tell you, the higher up the ladder you go, the more you're going to be in front of people.
Right. Well, and if you're the CEO of some really giant corporation, you're going to have to be on the telephone talking to stockbrokers about, your most recent quarter. Well, and you got to sell that.
I got parents that come to me all the time and say, Josie has gone on to do this other thing, but she always talks about what we did in theater camp, and that she was so more prepared and less scared of going into something new. Okay. Which, hey, that's a win. That's a huge win.
Well, speaking of that student, other students, what do you hope they get out of working with Actors Point Theater Company?
Well, I hope they get a love for all things artistic. I also, because I also have a philosophy that says, I don't think it's a philosophy, I think it's something I've noticed, that there's a lot, let's say insurance business. Let's just pick an insurance business. And you go into a room and there's people there, and what do you do? And they say, well, I'm an insurance agent. And you go, oh, okay, I know what that means. No, you don't. Because there's a reason that person has stayed in business, because they do some things that are unique in the world of lookalikes. And unique in the world of lookalikes always translates to something creative. Okay, whether your messaging is more creative, or the way you deliver is more creative, or whatever it is, it always has to do with something creative. So to survive in business nowadays, you better be artistic. You better have some sense of what good creativity looks like. So I tell people all the time, your kid's probably not going to go to Broadway, but they are going to go into business, and they're going to need to know what creativity looks like. And to be a creative entrepreneur is now the pinnacle in what's going on in our society.
Sure. We're speaking with Actors Point Theater Company founder Greg Wilson. We'll be back after this important message.
The Samaru Group is a strong supporter of arts education. That's because the arts foster creativity and critical thinking. They also enhance communication skills while boosting confidence and collaboration. Students engaged in the arts often perform better academically and develop lifelong appreciation for diverse perspectives. This message was brought to you by the Samaru Group, a family-owned real estate business specializing in affordable housing, green design, and new urbanism. For more information, visit their website at samarugroup.com.
We're back with Actors Point Theater Company founder Greg Wilson, who's talking about his efforts to bring professional theater to Sumner County. Maybe one final question. What are you most proud of?
I think that the fact that, even at my ripe old age, I still have this deep passion, and that I just have this love to see other people win. And our camps help me do that, the classes that we teach. But also just, I'll just back up just for half a second. My wife is a incredible baker. She's got a little baking company on the side, and sometimes I'll go and help her at the farmer's market and sell things. And the biggest joy we get is to see people unwrap one of her homemade organic Pop-Tarts and try it and see the look on their face. I love the look on the face of the crowd. I love the look. I love the fact that people just stood up and cheered our last show. I love that reaction. Okay. Yeah. So, because I feel like I'm giving them something.
Okay. So what you're most proud of is that you have brought magic into the lives of people in Sumner County.
You're hoping.
Okay.
I'm hoping.
All right. Well, Greg Wilson, thank you for joining us here at Mac Talk.
Well, thank you. I appreciate this opportunity.
You've been listening to Mac Talk from Whitehaven Arts and Cultural Center. Our mission is to educate, elevate, and encourage our community through the transformative power of the arts. If you're interested in transforming your creative life, check out our website at whitehavenarts.org. Our guest today was Actors Point Theater Company founder Greg Wilson. Our podcast music was written by Nashville composer Christina Spinay. I'm Kennedy Galpin. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.